Hello everyone, I'm Cam from Fairaccord, and in this Deckathalon guide I will be giving you the answers to the most commonly asked questions that aren't already answered in the original Deckathalon guide. If you haven't seen the general Deckathalon guide yet, I'd highly recommend that you check that one out first. Alright, starting off, I hear the question, how many runes do I need to craft X deck? Or, how many runes do I need to upgrade my deck? Luckily, we have a section of the Deckathalon spreadsheet that answers this exactly. The bottom section tells you the amount of runes you need to craft each level of deck, assuming you have 0 decks. The section above it, however, will tell you how many runes you'll need to upgrade your deck, using the previous deck as an ingredient. So if you have deck 3 already, you'll need 40 runes and 2 enhanced to craft deck 4. Since we're here, there's also some more helpful information about the decks. This section provides all the stats that the decks give. The boxes are highlighted if it's a significant upgrade from the previous level, or it gives more than usual. Quick tip. As you can see here, deck 7 has no significant upgrades, while deck 8 has 2. So, if I were you, I would wait to craft deck 7 until you have all the runes necessary to make it to 8. Having 2 separate deck 6s would be more helpful than just one deck 7, because you could use both of them on different characters and not have to shatter the jewels. Next question I get a lot is, can I beat stage 10 if this is my first time doing the Deckathalon? Short answer is yes, it's possible, but it depends on a few things. Number 1, do you have a good pet? Having a Willcast Frozen Kraken pet with 4 Maycast heals gives you such a significant advantage in the tower that not having it will make it so much harder to complete. Number 2, do you have multiple wizards to farm on? In order to craft deck 6, which is the all-around minimum best deck to have, you need 280 runes in total. That's a lot to get. You'll need to spend 3 credits every day just farming on 3 or more characters to get that many. Quick tip, transfer around your highest deck through the shared bank to give all your wizards the best chance. But be careful about socketing jewels because you can't put items in the shared bank unless the sockets are empty. The third thing you should be aware of is getting good at Deckathalon requires practice. If you are a big PvP player or a solo PvE player, you may be used to this kind of thinking. But if not, you may struggle with what to use and when. Number 4, do you have the right cards? You won't be able to win without big hits and cards like Feint. It will be a lot harder without strong minions like Brandon's as well. Lastly, your character that you're climbing the tower on should be your highest level to be able to socket the highest jewels at the end. The flat resist jewel is vital, and having 20 less due to your level could be a problem. With those 5 things, you should be able to defeat the professor and get your badge. So, it is possible, but personally my suggestion would be to take it slow. Just start with 1 or 2 characters, try to get deck 4 or 5 on your first event, and just have fun. It can get boring real quick if you're just farming the same stages over and over again. Important tip, doing the Deckathalon towers doesn't only give you the runes for the current event, but other schools as well. I've found that there seems to be an increased rate for the runes required for the following month's Deckathalon. So, the more you do now, the easier it will be in the future. Which is why I tell people, if there's one specific pet you want or one specific tower you want to beat, start trying before that school's Deckathalon comes out, so you'll have a better chance on reaching your goals. Another question I hear is, should I farm Beastmoon Monster Mayhem for runes? The short answer to this is no. Monster Mayhem is a super fun game mode that's worth playing in its own right, but you really don't get that many runes. It's a nice little bonus if you happen to be playing for other reasons, but I wouldn't suggest going into that event specifically looking for runes, because you'll be disappointed. One question I get asked a ton is, what stages should I run to get the most runes? Or what stages should I run to get the most points? Those are kind of very different questions, but also mostly the same. With runes, each stage typically drops relatively the same amount of runes with the exception of maybe the bosses. Floor 1 usually drops 2 to 4 runes, same on floor 2, and 3 drops a bunch more. The higher you go up, the amount of runes may increase a small bit, but generally the change that you get is different runes, like enhanced and superior instead of the basic runes. So, for farming runes, the best answer is almost always start at stage 1 and beat all the stages above it until you die or run out of cards. This method is also usually what most people use for points too, but it's not always the best. For example, you may be entirely able to complete stages 1 through 3 in the first floor of 4 with your deck, or you could complete stages 2 through 4 entirely, which will give you way more points and maybe even more runes. So use the spreadsheet, figure out what's best for you with what deck you have, and try to figure out what the best setup for you will be. On the topic of runes, another quick question I get is where do I farm blank runes? Basically, if you're doing the normal stage 1 and up farming, you should have plenty of what you need. But if you need some extra enhanced, for example, just farm higher stages for a bit. Nothing too big, but if you want to farm stages 4 and 5, for example, that could get you there. For superior runes, you'll have to go higher. The higher you go, the better chance you have to get them dropped. So do the highest stage that you can consistently farm. Same with strengthening runes. But one main difference is that the strengthening runes you can only get dropped from the bosses on each stage. If you're trying to farm a stage like 9 for example and you keep dying, then go down and keep doing that until you don't die anymore, wasting credits. Quick tip, ultimate runes cannot be farmed. I'll tell you how to get those later. One more quick rune related topic, you can transmute runes. Getting the recipes from Kara Runewrite in the library, you can use your runes to craft others, but I would never recommend doing this since it will cost you runes in the end and you can always farm more. This next one isn't a question specifically, but there's a lot of confusion regarding the event progress bar. So let's explain it in depth real quick. This list is also in the spreadsheet under useful stuff, if you're interested. First, at 10 points you have a Deckathalon deck 1 here. This will save you an extra 5 runes if you're crafting decks, and it doesn't say it, but you get an automatic Deckathalon Tower treasure card pack with it as well, plus an additional few runes. At 25 you get a Hands of Fate wand. You need one of these to craft each of the school's Hands of Fate, so if you have 10s of them in your inventory, there's really no need to keep them around. At 75 points, you get 10 regular school runes. This is worth taking a short detour. When I do Deckathalon, I farm it and use every last credit on 2 characters. However, I play on all 7 of my characters just to get to this point. I could use all my credits on more characters, but I find that doing it on 2 makes the whole event more palatable and less likely to overwhelm you. Getting to 75 points is not hard, even if your wizards are only level 10. With the deck ones that I collect, I'm able to get an easy 50 extra runes for my main characters to use. What I do is run stage 1 and the first 2 floors of stage 2, or the full stage 2 depending on which school it is, gathering 25 points each day. If all goes well, you only need to use 1 credit per day, and it's super quick. If you fail your run, however, you can just go back in and just do the first floor of stage 1 to get up to 25. After 3 days, I transfer all the runes and decks I've collected and don't enter the tower again. Moving back to the progress bar, the next reward is a tower pack for 125 points. This is the same as the one that comes with the deck at 10 points, and it can give you some nice treasure cards to use in the tower. Next, at 175 is 10 magical clay. This is a reagent to craft the Sinbad Gauntlet. although I expect they may replace this someday with reagents for a new gauntlet. Now here, at 225, is the second best reward aside from the pet, the rune pack. These drop superior runes a lot, and just in general, it's always good to have more runes. At 300 points is the Rockhammer's Jewel Pack. I've never personally gotten anything notable from this, but if you're low on jewels for your decks, maybe you could get a nice health opal or something. Next is the Ultimate Runes. It doesn't say, but it actually gives you 6 of them. You need 12 Ultimate Runes to craft a Hands of Fate weapon, so this means you either need to do the event on 2 characters, or just craft one every other decathlon. Lastly is the hamster at 450 points. I explain in the general decathlon guide why this is so good. You also get a varsity decathlete badge for getting to this point. This leads me into one of the questions I hear a ton. I have blankety blank points on day 2 or on day 3. Am I on track to getting the hamster? This question obviously has a lot of factors it depends on, but here's what I can say. Unless you already have very high level decks, you should only be able to miss a maximum of 3 days. And you'll be cutting it close if you do. However, if it's day 1 or 2 and you did the math and it's not looking like you'll make it, don't worry. As you get further into the event, you'll get higher level decks and more experience, so you'll get more points. Just keep going, and getting the pet is very doable. Really quick question some people ask is, can you crit in the decathlon? The short answer is yes, if you have crit on your deck. But the enemies do tend to block a lot, so do not rely on that in your strategies. As you may know, I have all 7 Hands of Fate on my characters. And when I'm streaming, people ask, how do you get those? Or more, can I craft the Hands of Fate on my first decathlon? I hate to break your spirits, and I'm not going to say it's impossible, but to be honest, don't expect to. Not only do you need a lot of low-level runes, but you need these high-level runes that are not easy to get. In my experience, I've never not had enough superior runes, and I've never had to farm for them specifically. And I have more ultimate runes than I need. So really, the only tough part is the strengthening runes. You need 10 of these, and they can only be dropped on floor 3, the boss, of stages 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. As I said before, the higher you go up, the more likely it will be to get one. I've only ever gotten 1 strengthening rune on stage 6. It's not common at all. But I get one about 2/3 of the time I reach stage 10. Sometimes you can even get 2 in one run. So if you're farming for these, only farm the stages that you can complete consistently and all the way up to the 3rd floor. Through experimentation, I've found that I get more strengthening runes just farming stage 9 than even doing 6, 7, and 8 in 1 credit. So even though that they're possible at those stages and you can get 3 chances, it's just the rates are just so much better on stage 9 that is what I'm going to be farming. I've gotten roughly 10 runes per event, which is enough to craft one. Just farming stage 10 would be the very best, I think, but it's very hard to do that consistently, and it's a shame to waste credits. Another quick one here. I've heard people ask, what's the difference between Sprite and Sprite Queen? Well, if you see the cards here, Queen is just a better version of Sprite. The animations are the exact same, so to tell which one your pet has just cast, you'll have to wait for the number to come up. If it's 50, that's a Sprite. If it's 60, that's a Sprite Queen. Sprite Queen is single target and is not to be confused with Sprite Swarm, which heals your whole team. The last question I have, which is the one I definitely get the most, is do I need a Maycast / a Willcast pet to do the decathlon? The answer is a firm no. You do not need one. Yes, it will help tremendously, I know it will, but many people have proven that you can get to 450 points and get that pet without using any Maycasts. So if you haven't made your decathlon pets yet, it doesn't mean you shouldn't try. Another thing, anything you have is useful. If you have an old questing pet that failed with Fairy Friend, then use that. Or if you're trying to make one and yours only has 3 heals rather than 4, that's perfectly fine to use. Although I'd advise against spending your tokens to unlock the Willcast if that pet isn't perfect yet. Unless you happen to be sitting on hundreds of tokens, of course. And with that, that is all that I have for this video. I hope this was helpful. If you have any more questions that I didn't answer in this video, and you've watched my general decathlon guide already, please leave a comment down below and maybe I'll answer your question in a future video. I have an advanced tips video coming as well as the life, balance, and storm decathlon guides, so make sure to subscribe to get all those videos. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.